Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. Last week, I did a special episode on the 1986 Fleer basketball set and what makes that set, which is seemingly pretty basic and high print production or print runs, so special. And out of that, obviously I talked about the Star sets, Star Company basketball sets of the early to mid 80s. And I thought, well, it'd be really interesting, and a couple people commented that they would love to see a video about Star Company basketball cards. So I dug into it, and boy, is it interesting. It is way more interesting than you would think. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to start off by saying I am not an expert on Star basketball cards, or even basketball cards in general. Most of the information I have here, I gleaned from interviews either that I watched or read by Steve Taft, or is it Steve Teft? Whoever the expert is on Star Company basketball cards of the 1980s. There's a lot of his stuff out there, a lot of interviews, including on jordancards.com and starbasketballcards.com, I think had one. So after Topps stopped producing basketball cards after 81-82 because they were so unpopular in the market, a very small company in New Jersey called Star Company, owned by Robert Levin, released just a 32-card all-star set after the 1983 season with a license from the NBA. And this was just only 32 cards. It had the first card for Isaiah Thomas, so it's considered his extended rookie card. But the difference is that there were no packs. There was no standard production. There was only a handful of distributors nationwide that were shipping these out. Production runs for these cards were at or below 5,000 cards. I think one of them had 7,000. Later on, maybe in 1986, had 7,000 cards. Some of the sets are more scarce thanks to quality issues. So like the 83-84 set, which had 275 cards, had, particularly with the Celtics and Mavs cards, ink saturation issues and miscut issues, resulting in fewer than 1,000 cards for each of those teams' players. So you're looking at entire sets with under 1,000 cards. Today, you see a lot of numbered cards, numbered to 25, numbered to 100, whatever. That's really common. Back in the 80s and early 90s, this was not common at all. You're talking the entry point to the junk wax era. The cards were sold in what were called poly bags, or what are known as poly bags. They're like team bags. They were sealed plastic bags. They were clear, so you could see the top card and the bottom card through the back. And as I said, it was just a small distributor network. Because of this non-traditional distribution, they are not, to this day, considered true rookie cards. They're considered XRCs, or extended rookie cards. So that's why 1986 Fleer has all those major rookies from the early 80s that I listed out in that 1986 Fleer video. I showed the cards for 86. You can go back in and see who all those rookies were. But a lot of those players, many of them, started before 1986. In the late 1980s, some counterfeit Star Company cards after Star had gone out of business. So Star went out of business after Fleer jumped into the market. Star actually lost money in their 3-year run of having the license with the NBA. So it wasn't profitable for them at all. They went out of business. In the late 80s, several years after they went out of business, some counterfeits hit the market. These are known as Type 2 counterfeits because they were stolen by a former print production employee and then released. These were actually created at the original time, back in the mid-80s, with the original print runs, but they were considered factory rejects for various reasons, miscuts, etc. But these were discovered as rejects or counterfeits in the early 90s by Steve Teft. And then in 1997, Robert Levin, the previous owner of Star Company, reprinted many of the cards from the 1980s on an original print plate and claimed they were printed in the 1980s and started selling them on the Shop at Home network, which is much like QVC. It's just a TV channel where you go and sell your wares, and you probably scamming people. And he was, for sure, scamming people. He included a letter that fabricated the backstory of these, that they were printed in the mid-'80s and stored in a storage container or something like that. These were not authorized by the NBA. They resulted in the NBA, resulted in PSA refusing to grade them. Now, PSA did grade a very small number of them, but Beckett started grading them once they had Steve Tefft come in and show them how to find the fakes. And he has offered to do this with other companies. He's produced a grading manual and he has gone in and trained companies. Like he trained, I think GAI was another one. And he said that they did a really nice job with it originally at GAI, even despite making some mistakes, as you might expect a grading company to do, but they apparently no longer do. BGS is the only third-party grader that grades and authenticates Star Company cards to this day. Now, what was included in that 1997 reprint that was on Shop at Home? There's a Jordan 10-card Olympic set with red borders that was printed in 1997. A 1984-85 Olympic set, also 10 cards, that had blue borders, printed in 1997. 1984 Miller Lite set with white borders. 1986 Crunch and Munch set with orange borders. 1985 Bulls Arena set. 1985 Last 11 Rookies of the Year, white borders with red lettering. The 1985 Court Kings says 85 on it, but it should be 86. The original print run had 86 in the top corner. It also had blue lettering when it had red originally. The 85 All Rookies had a blue border, should have been red. It was red with the original print run. So many of these have the wrong year and the wrong border colors. Why is that? It's because Levin no longer had the print company that he originally used. Despite having the same print plate, the original print company had gone out of business and they could not reproduce the exact conditions of the original print runs. So that's why they're considered counterfeit, because they did not reprint the original cards. They just made new cards, backdated them to 85, 86. The cutting characteristics were impossible to match. The colors were impossible to match. So they just decided, apparently, to put in new colors and claim that they were stored for over a decade. Strangely, the Jordan XRC was not included in this counterfeit print run in 1997. I couldn't find why. I tried figuring out why it wasn't. Maybe because it would have tipped more people off. Maybe it's easier to fool people with like Isaiah Thomas and Patrick Ewing counterfeit cards, and you'd get more eyeballs on Jordan counterfeit and people would figure it out. Didn't work after all. But another one of the problems with this is that the 1984-85 Olympic team issue included ineligible NBA players like Patrick Ewing, who had gone back to school after the 85 Olympics instead of going straight into the NBA. So that's another reason the NBA ended up suing Robert Levin in 1997. He was followed to his print shop once they discovered that he'd been doing this and that they were fake. He was followed to his print shop. A search warrant was issued. They found cards in the process of being printed, and then the NBA won $1 million in a lawsuit. Pretty bonkers. This guy trying to get away with making probably millions of dollars himself. I don't know if he was broke. I couldn't get much of a backstory on him. So what is actually, before I get into pop counts really interesting too. I'm going to ask you, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please click that subscribe button, click the bell icon, like this video. I really appreciate it. It helps my channel a lot. And then go into comments and tell me what vintage or junk wax set would you be interested in seeing a deep dive into like this. Could be baseball, could be basketball. Those are the two sports I'm into. Pop counts. BGS, I'm only looking at BGS because PSA and obviously CSG and SGC don't grade star cards. So of the 1984-85 Jordan XRC, number 101, BGS has graded 1,077. As of today, June 1st, 2022, of those 1,077, only 3 are graded a 9.5. That's 0.2%. are graded at 9.5. 0 to 10 and 0 to 10 black label. So only 0.2% get what is considered one of the best BGS grades and one of the best grades in the industry. Meanwhile, for 1986 Fleer, remember, for the 8485 Star XRC, about 1,000. For the 86 Fleer, almost 20 times that, 19,507 cards of the 86 Fleer Jordans have been graded by BGS. 563 are 9.5, that's 3%. So that's about 15 times as many are 9.5s. 6 are 10s and 0 are 10 black labels. So it's a much, much higher ratio of their cards that are 9.5 and above. In 2015, the first 9.5 BGS Jordan XRC sold for $52,000. And that was in 2015, that's 7 years ago, before the recent market explosion. So $52,000. Now Card Ladder, and I'm not a Card Ladder guy, but I was trying to figure out what this might be worth now. Card Ladder says it's worth $600,000 today, based on the grade ratio, because only 2 more have come out since that 2015 9.5. So based on the current grade ratio, they estimate that it's worth $600,000 if one were to come on the market right now, a 9.5 BGS. Pretty amazing, but yeah, I thought this was really interesting. Again, I want to stress, I'm not an expert. If I got some details wrong, I appreciate when you let me know. And it's my fault and not the expert's fault. So that's all. Thank you very much for watching.